I would like to describe your growth.
Okay. Well, okay. We could do that.
It
Ooh.
seems, Nate.
Wow.
It
Like,
seems. I like that.
I would rather you tell me how I've grown because I'm not going to be able to see it the way that you have.
You're right. Yeah, we don't see our growth like other people do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm
that
glad
is
that I
true.
have like some close friends that can look at me and probably see more how I've grown than I can myself.
Yeah.
But if I had to pinpoint my own growth,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I've become a lot more comfortable in the message that I deliver on the show. Because I think that there's a large part of me that because of the struggle that I have with food, and I talk about it all the time on the show, that I want to discredit my recovery altogether and think that I have nothing to offer, you know, and that's not true. It's not true at all. Like, I still have a message, I still have a recovery, and I still have, you know, something that I can relate with people with, you know. Like, I have so many people that reach out to me and talk to me about their issues with food, and they can identify with the things that I say on the show. And the fact that, you know, that I get that feedback from people and I'm able to be more open and honest about it, like, is real growth on my part.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, so that's one way that I think I've grown, and it's worth acknowledging here today, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your willingness to change grow a lot over this and to take responsibility for your own actions and, you know, willing to jump in and make the phone calls and admit the mistakes and look at the things that you want to change in your life and not go back to that place. You know, your courage to share some of the stories that you've shared, like holding a gun to your head, you know, digging the pizza out of the trash, like, you know, those things that you share that people do but don't talk about, right? Like, that growth has made you obviously, like, well, to me, it's pretty obvious that you're way more confident in who you are as a person than when we started this podcast, and you're way more confident in the direction of your life, right? The career that you just took on, right? Like your interview process was completely different than any other interview that and you brought that to the table with confidence and willingness, and like you were asking them questions. You were seeing if they were a good fit for you rather than the other way around. And I think that's important, that kind of stuff, you know, because you're loving Cameron. You're worth the work, and you're doing the work to do that. And I love that slogan that you have about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I need to hear that, you know, because I definitely, it's like I said, you know, like it's pretty easy for me to discredit my own growth.
It is. Yeah.
So sometimes I really look to others to remind me of the ways that I've grown, and I'm lucky to have, you know, 2 people, 3 people in this room that constantly remind me of the ways that I've grown.
Yeah.
So,
And you're shrinking.
And I wouldn't have grown whilst shrinking without everybody in this room.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And everyone out there, I dare
it's
say.
true.
You
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's more people in my life than the people in this room. It's just that a large part of the people that are in my corner happen to reside next to me at this moment. So,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah.
appreciate it.
I'm
Well,
pretty
I have to
grateful.
say, I know it took a lot of courage for you to tell that story about the pizza in the trash, like kicking that out. And you know, I say this on the show all the time, like, oh, I'm going to be honest and vulnerable, you know, but
Vulnerable Nate.
Like you telling that story, actually, like I wasn't. I know I chuckled, but I only chuckled because it reminded me of the time when I did it, you know, and like it kind of like made me think, like, man, am I really being as vulnerable and honest as I need to be on this show? So I appreciate you doing that and having the courage to do that. Like I really think your courage and your desire to be honest and open on the show, it shows, like it really does. And because of that, I think we're able to connect with more people on a deeper level, and it's great. It's great to have that connection with people during this process. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know.
Good shit.
Yeah,
man.
Well, what about you, Willie?
Go
yeah.
Cameron.
What about
How
you,
do you-
Willie?
how do you feel?
I just gave a fucking 10-minute speech on how I felt.
I want to talk about your growth, sir. I have seen you grow tremendously, Willie. Like, I love the way you continue to take on new challenges and work on yourself.
Thank you.
And the fact that you were so just, like, no hesitation whatsoever in your new career choice. You just went headlong into it knowing that that's what you had to do, and there was no hesitation on your part.
Mm-hmm.
And your level of discipline has been like increased tenfold since we started.
It has.
doing this.
It has.
Like you're one of the pivotal people in my recovery.
Thanks.
And just the things that you do for other people, it's so admirable. I only hope to one day be as big-hearted as you, even though I fucking hate telling you certain things.
Oh, man.
It is so hard to tell you certain things because I know you care so much about me.
Oh, thanks.
That I don't want to let you down. But I appreciate, I've never had anybody care as much about me openly as you do. And I thank you for that.
I feel the same way. Like I know you care about me because you expect the best out of me. And so you don't let me get away with anything. So
I let you get away with success.
Yeah, that's about it. That's it though. And I appreciate that. Like that is the one. Like I agree with Cameron. Like it, I can turn to either one of you guys, any one of you, for good advice. I know I'm going to get good, solid advice and get pointed in the right direction. Willie, I have to say that the growth I've seen, not just with your discipline, but like like Cameron said, your willingness to take on new challenges. And your desire to do better, continually do better. Like you're the one person I can say like is never happy with what they have. Like you just have the desire to be better, and it's great to see. Like I love witnessing it, and I love seeing the progress you're making. I mean, you got a coach. I mean, working out, you're working your ass off every morning, getting up and working out. Fuck, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I'm thank you guys. Like I'm trying not to cry, right? Because all I ever wanted to be was loved.
You are loved, man.
And I accept that today.
You're fucking loved,
Yeah.
man.
I always was loved, but I accept your love today. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You better.
Thank you. Yeah, I fucking better. You guys worked on it, right? So
But I have to say, like, the way our friendship has grown is probably one of my favorite things. Like we were able to celebrate Cameron's birthday a couple of weeks ago and do that as a group. We all, all of us came. You guys brought your significant others.
Nate met his.
Yeah.
No, I was just kidding.
Cameron brought mine. Introduced me to a friend.
Single male friend.
Yeah. But
Now, what about Nate?
Yeah.
what about me? What about me?
You need to get to work, motherfucker.
I do, man. I got a lot of work to do. But
No, for the first thing is like the ability to let these things roll off your back is really helpful.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
we do fuck with you a lot.
Oh
Like,
yeah, but,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
But you don't internalize it like you would have in the past.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's important for people like me and Cameron who really do express love and gratitude through joking around.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you've jumped right on, like you're the same way. You're able to do that same thing. But
Yeah.
your ability, what you've done with your own confidence and your own vision for your life. Right. Since this podcast has started, you went through some fucking heavy shit.
I did. Yeah.
Right? You made some decisions
Yeah.
that were didn't turn out in the moment the way that you kind of thought that they would. You've got a handle on your anger and your temper.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've really grabbed a hold of responsibility for yourself and your life. The way that you handle situations and other people, the way that you handle the world outside of yourself, where you can now step back and take a look at what's going around you and make a conscious decision. And when you don't know what the fuck to do, you ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest improvement in my life right now is being able to ask for help. Where before I would just really just curl up in a little ball and shrink.
Yeah.
And now it's like, no, we got to take care of this. What steps do I take to fix this or get moving? And yeah, I'm not the same person I was.
One of the biggest things I've seen, man,
2 years
is like
ago.
the way you've progressed. Like your process for dealing with your emotions has improved tenfold.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, we all acknowledge that, with whatever we have going on, we're bound to feel certain ways about certain things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And your ability to open up about feeling those things and talk about them and express them and thus work with them and move past them in a healthy and constructive manner has been tremendous and inspiring. I've always said that from the get-go, that I've always really appreciated the way that you, even though we give you shit about being honest and vulnerable, the fact that you're able to do that the way that you do, I think is why so many people that are listening identify with what you say.
Yeah.
The most.
Yeah. Is because Nate's the one that's actually talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's all stuff that we all deal with.
It is.
Right.
Everybody's dealing with it. They're dealing with something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of, I have to be honest here. Weird.
Yeah.
But, throughout this podcast, the 25 episodes that we've done, granted I wasn't here for a few of them, but I was always kind of spiritually I was, but I was a little intimidated at first, with this podcast. You guys, both of you had a little more sobriety time behind you than I did.
We still do.
You still do. You still do.
Just so you know.
Yes. Yeah. I wasn't insinuating a relapse or anything, but I really didn't know how much I had to offer.
Right.
More than you think.
Yeah, and so, but I think where I was in recovery and in life, it kind of helped add a little. I didn't realize what it was going to add to the show. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of people who are beginning their process of recovery, whatever that is. Recovery from whatever. Not just drugs and alcohol, whatever. And I think that it's kind of cool to see someone like myself go through something.
Yeah, if you can do it.
Yeah, if Nate can do it, anyone can.
Well, and even though you had your stint in jail, and for you to come back
the day you got out of jail,
the day you got out, come on the show, talk about it, open up and be honest about your whole process of going through that and how you were feeling about it and dealing with it. People love that. People respond to that. I respond to that.
Yeah.
It's great to have that element in our world,
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that was episode 9, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
let's look over there. I know you can't see.
Can't see Jordan.
For those who are listening only, if you've listened from episode 1 to episode 25, you may have heard a little different quality, and that's because of Jordan.
Oh, you mean audio quality?
Yeah. For those of you who have watched us and listened, you may have watched a little growth in quality of visual growth, and that's because of Cameron. And put it together, you get these two. You get the producer, the audio engineer, and let's talk about Jordan for a little. For just a little skosh. Right?
Sure.
Let's
remind everybody too that Jordan gave his war story in episode 6.
Yep.
We got to hear Jordan's war story.
And he's always behind the scenes. He's been behind the scenes on every episode.
Except for
the one that he was on, the scene.
Well, we had him on Zoom.
Him in Zoom meetings too.
Oh, yeah. But he still did the audio too.
Right.
So during the COVID thing and when we started this whole thing, I dare say Jordan didn't exactly know how much he needed to talk about himself. Mm-hmm. And he's been able to grow through some things. He went through being the lead singer of a band that's not necessarily a garage band anymore, right?
To say the least, right?
He deals with some shit when he goes up on stage, and he's probably the busiest motherfucker that I've ever seen. And he's been able to pull that together. You know, when we first started this thing, he was pretty scattered, and he's been able to dial in his priority, and he's made us one of those things. He's made this podcast one of those top priorities, and made this thing so that we're able to do this on a regular basis. If it wasn't for what he does behind the scenes, we wouldn't be able to put out the podcast the way that we do.
Right.
Or have the quality we have.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
You know?
Cameron, same to you.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important to note Jordan's growth spiritually and mentally as well.
Yeah.
Like, not only have I seen his skills increase, like with the camera work, because like, you know, Jordan takes over a lot of the camera stuff when we're here in the studio.
Yeah, pretty much all of it.
Yeah, because I step back and I focus on mainly hosting and directing. Let Jordan do all the camera stuff. And so, like, with that being said, like, he's taken to that role, and I'm so good that I can rely on him to do that and do a good job.
Yeah.
But spiritually and mentally, like, I know that Jordan is, you know, he's not afraid to reach out now. Like, if he you know, has some head running that's happening, and that, you know, he really has sort of embedded himself in this circle of trust that we have here.
Yeah.
And he's become somebody that I can also talk to, you know, if I'm doing some head running.
Right.
Head running.
Yeah.
That's
He reached out to me this last week.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Friday.
Friday,
It was,
yeah.
It was my first show back after all this COVID stuff, you know, and it like felt goofy. I was like, well, something's off today. Oh, man, well, could it be that the band hasn't had a show during this pandemic for a few months, and here we go. Here's the first show. Yeah, and first thing I did, man, was call you guys. That's not something that's instinctual. It's learned, and it's
Right.
learned from being able to sit here and be behind the scenes, be part of this. You know, there's a lot of growth that's taken place that I don't share on the show just because, you know, I'm behind the scenes. But not only for that, but that's my reward, man. That's my pay ticket for being part of this, as well as having 3 cohorts or friends that I can like really count on and go out and do fun stuff with, you know. And yeah, the camera stuff and all this. I wouldn't be nearly as far off, like, understanding the tech side of this shit if it wasn't for this podcast, for Cameron, you know, all of it. Like, it's all good shit, and that's why it is a priority. I am very busy, but, you know, you always have to prioritize the things that have the most value and the most payout for myself, right? And this happens to be one of those. And from episode 1, I wasn't quite sure. There was something to it, but I wasn't sure what. I thought maybe it was just, I'm going to be able to really kind of like learn a little bit more about, you know, myself, and maybe figure out why I'm still doing some of the same negative behaviors that I was doing. And so, yeah, this podcast did help me with that, and it continues to help me with that. But for some reason, this podcast seems to me that it continues to grow and grow and grow. And I'm like, holy hell. This is the thing that's growing quicker than any other thing that I'm doing at this moment. I can't explain that. I think it's just because it's the right thing to do, and people are getting value out of it. And more importantly, the 4 of us are enjoying what we're doing.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah.
Faux show.
For sure.
Very well put.